welcome to Between the Lines. I'm Esther Hatch, and I'm here with Sarah M. Eden, Tracy Hunter Abramson, and Sean and Bessie. And today we have a special guest, Amy Parker, who has actually been a huge part of all of our careers in the last few years. So we're really excited. Also, spoiler a little bit, this whole podcast would not even exist if it weren't for Amy. So she is senior marketing manager for Shadow Mountain, a publishing house, and also has just been involved in marketing and publishing and promoting books for years and years. So I'm really excited to hear a little bit more about her story. And we're going to talk a little bit about how the podcast was formed in the first place. And we're just really happy to have you here, Amy. Thanks for coming.
Well, thanks for having me. When you first told me that you wanted to have me on here, I'm not sure I was that excited because, I've made the four of you do some things over the years that I don't think I want to do. And so this is opportunity for payback. I'm a little anxious, but, I trust all of you 1000%. So
okay, good. I was like, how did we not even think about that? We should have.
I know. We totally let that fall.
Hold on.
Yeah. Well, first of all, Amy, tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey into the world of publishing and how you got to where you are now.
So personally, I'm from the UK. So this is why Sean and I always go the wrong way. Sean and I have probably had an instant connection just because both of us are from the UK. And I've been in the United States off and on, but the first time was 25 years ago. So I've been here a while. I'm from Liverpool. It was where I was born. And so I'm a big Liverpool fan, if you've got soccer fans out there. I have 5 kids, 1 that's married, 2 really naughty beagles. I feel like if I wrote a bio, my 2 naughty beagles would always feature in my bio. And I've been working in the book world for about 12 years. Well, almost 12 years. Being paid to work in the book world.
It's an important distinction.
For almost 12 years. So it's been a good journey. And I have a long story and a short story of how I got involved in publishing. The short story is Esther Hatch. That's how I ended up in marketing. But the long story is a little bit more interesting than me just mentioning Esther. But really, Esther did play a pivotal role in me getting into working in a publishing house. You may be surprised, those of you who know me have seen me online or chatting about books, but I used to love reading books when I was a child and early teens, and then it evolved somehow into nonfiction. I'm not quite sure what happened, but I think it might have been to do with college. I don't know. I did business studies in high school and in college, and so I had to read the paper. I had to read the newspaper. Financial Times was my favorite. And so I think I just got into a rut of reading nonfiction. And so when I got hired at the bookstore, the very first thing that people would ask me were which books I recommended. And I knew nothing about the fiction section, like nothing. And so I was really good at giving people advice on all the nonfiction, but I knew nothing. And I remember these 2 ladies one day, they pulled me in and they said, tell us what's new and what we should buy. And I said, okay, full disclosure, I know nothing. And I'm not even going to try and make something up. And they just looked at me with complete shock and were like, how do you not read these books? These are amazing and you work here. And I said, I just don't. So I thought, okay, recommend something to me. And they actually picked up Sarah Eden's, gosh, I'm going to look really bad, but I don't know.
But it was a Sarah book. That was
there's a lot on that list. So
it was one of your jonquils. Oh my gosh, this is really bad.
It's all right.
I should have prepped.
Sarah Eden jonquil book. We'll leave it at that. Pick your favorite.
It's Leighton's book. Anyway.
Oh, Drops of Gold.
Yes, Drops of Gold. And they basically put that in my hand and said, read this one and you'll never look back. And they were right.
Yay.
I just read until, I had like 2 whole full bookshelves there in the store to kind of work through. And I read so much fiction. And I don't think I've looked back since that point. But I had those 2 ladies to thank for that because they now sucked me into a whole world of fiction that I wasn't participating in. And so from there, I really got involved in influencing. And I actually Forward Reviews, which is a national publication that deals with reviews, approved me to actually work for them on writing professional reviews, which I was really excited about. I thought, this is cool. This is the next step for me. And then Esther Hatch popped into my life online, and she was releasing a book with Covenant, and I guess they had no marketing person at the time, and she was asking for help, and I thought, gosh, I've done this for years. This is what you need to do. I can help. What do you need? And then she said to me, there's a job at Covenant.
Yeah.
You should apply for it. And I looked at it and I thought, I looked at where it is in American Fork, and I thought, I live an hour and a half away from that location. I'm not even applying for that job. That's just a waste. I'm not going to ever drive that. But then I thought about it for the weekend, and I decided I'm going to apply anyway, and I got the job. And I worked down there a couple of days a week and from home the rest of the time. And I haven't looked back. I've been in marketing ever since. Despite a year in sales, I did do sales for a while, but marketing's really where my heart is at. And so I'm really excited to be back.
And we can totally see that as authors, that your heart is in it when you're marketing our books. I think it's been an awesome thing.
The crazy ideas. I really agree. I wonder sometimes when I'm with my team and we're talking about our spring books that are coming out at Shadow Mountain and making all the plans. And as we're in these meetings, these things come into my head, and I just think, what are these people thinking that are on the team with me? And I just come out with just weird things and say, hey, wouldn't this be really cool? In fact, we just had a conversation about a book, but I'm not going to tell you because it's probably very embarrassing thing for me to admit. But I just had a crazy idea, and they all kind of looked at me like, wow, only Amy would say that. So we have a lot of fun, and I have just a crazy mind that will come up with things. And here the four of you are doing a podcast.
I know, because of one of your crazy ideas. And for me, if I had to come up with one description, well, there's many ways you could describe Amy for different facets of her life. But as far as her work goes, thinking outside the box has to be way up there on your list of skill sets. So we appreciate the fact that you do that.
Oh, so no problem.
Tell us more about why you love marketing and promoting books. Because you obviously do. It just like oozes out of your pores.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so passionate about the book industry as a whole. I just had the opportunity to go attend a conference, a National Library Conference in Tampa a few weeks ago. And I got to talk to just hundreds of school librarians. This was definitely for the school library market, this one. There is other conferences where they'll speak to different crowds. But it was really cool to just, I think, having those conversations with other people that understand like the impact that a book can make on a person's life. And in this case, children's lives, where they're shaping a lot of thought and opinion, are also really important. And it was just, I think I thrive on having conversations with other people that care about it as much as I do. And so I think that's why I love working in the bookstore and talking to customers. And that's why I love, in fact, it was kind of funny. I'll remember my first couple of days at Covenant, and I think I looked at the list of authors that were, working with Covenant, and I was very giddy. I was like, how did I get this job to work with all these people that are just my heroes? And so, very nervous to write some of those first emails to people who have just been like, woo, way up there on my admire list as a fangirl for a long time. And so it really does feel like a dream gig most of the time. I mean, I feel like it's very demanding, and there's a lot of hours and a lot of time and a lot of stress. And I've had to learn how to manage stress doing this job. But I have to say, I think it's that opportunity to work with books, work with amazing authors, and also just to, like I said, I do have a creative, wild mind. And so it gives me an opportunity to just come up with ideas, think of ideas. I don't know how many jobs allow you to do that. I'm thinking from my year and a half in sales, it was just miserable. It was like, it's just not my thing. I know some people really love sales and reports and accounts and those kind of things. It's not me. So, you guys will know there was times where I texted you and set up Zooms because I just needed to see my authors again.
Yes.
You know, we don't communicate much in sales with the authors. And so, you know, marketing's just a fun place to be, I think, in any company. But
well, and you also, like, you're talking about being our fans, but we are all your fan. Like,
Yeah.
we have definitely gotten the role reversal going on there. So, okay, now that you have been part of the publishing world, the publishing side of it, are there things that you wish readers and reviewers knew that, you know, that they just aren't privy to? Or things that you wish you had known before you got into that side of it?
Well, I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot on this journey. In fact, I was just talking about it with this new team of people that I get to work with at Shadow Mountain about some of the things that I've learned in this role. And I think you always do in any job. I feel like there's always things that you learn. Okay, no, never do that again. Or we should do that again and we should put more money into it. But I feel like, at least for readers, I mean, I know that I really touched into the fiction world as I was selling books, but I did kind of, I don't know, I feel like I did, before I came to work officially in the marketing position, I did get very heavily involved in following authors and becoming an influencer for them. And there was a lot of fun in that. I mean, for me, getting a free book is always like what it's all about. But for me, I feel like getting to know authors a little bit more and finding out that they're just real people with real lives, real challenges, really the same as everybody else. And so I think it really opened my eyes to maybe how we respond to people when we read a book. And I'm going to talk about reviews here for a minute, because that's really what we do as an influencer. A lot of it is writing good reviews and being supportive of a book. But I think it's easy when we don't know people to be very critical and harsh. And I think that's one thing that really kind of has opened my eyes to working on this side of things. I get to see both sides. And it's very important that when we write our reviews that we're honest and we're transparent. I find it very helpful, even for somebody, if they don't like a book and they give it 1 star, I can read the review if they're really open and clear on why they've done that. It helps the consumer make buying decisions, because I want to know if I'm going to spend $20 on a book. You know, I want to know if it's going to be a waste of money, you know, so they're very important. But at the same side, I've read a lot of really critical and mean reviews. And I think you don't need to be like that. You don't need to do that. And so I think always trying to be helpful and constructive is great, but reviews are really important to authors. But I think we can also still strive to be kind, even if we didn't enjoy something, you know. And so I think that's one of my biggest takeaways is like reviews are really, really important. I don't know if consumers or readers know how important they are. And you don't have to write a 50-page essay. Like it can be 1 line is all you need to do, and it can help. It really, really does help. And so I would just say, just to remember to be kind, and also to just write something. Like don't be thinking, oh, I want to review this book I bought on Amazon, and then not do it because you think you've got to write paragraphs. You really don't. It can be, I love this book, it was great. Whatever Amazon's minimum word count is. I know there is a minimum something you have to do when writing a review, but whatever that, it's not long. It really isn't.
It's not long. It's like 8 words or something.
Yeah. But I just think they're so important. I don't think readers know how important it is. And whenever I gift a book to somebody, I always say to them, I don't know whether it's just come about as my job, but I always say to them, please write a review on this book. And and usually the response is like, huh? Like, why should I do that? And I'm like, because it really matters. It really matters. It matters with the algorithms. It matters with sales. It helps the authors. But I just think it helps other people make buying decisions. Like when there's reviews there, and more of them, the better. So yeah, help an author out, write a nice review, be kind, and I think that's just great. But I have loved that about influencing, is you getting to know authors and feel like you're friends, and that's the fun part that I think I've discovered through all of this. So yeah, that's great.
I think we could all say that as authors too, that one of our favorite parts about being authors is getting to know each other and the connections that we have. So yeah. And for someone who's an introvert, that has surprised me. Like, I actually like the people. What? That doesn't sound
that
right.
happened. Yeah, I mean, social
Exactly.
interactions are just really important. And, you guys all know this, but everyone else listening does not. I have a child that's living in Korea right now and doesn't know the language very well. And it's like what we talk about every time. I'm like, what are you doing for social interaction? What are you doing to connect with people? Because there are people who will just sit in a room and never communicate. And maybe authors can relate to that because you do a lot of sitting in a room and working on your own. And it gives opportunity for us to just connect with other people, which is great.
Exactly. Yeah, this endeavor lends itself to isolation. So it's kind of wonderful that we have these connections that help us escape that a little bit.
Mhm.
So a question I have had, we're going to delve into the why this exact group of people, but I'm going to first ask you, because you're the one who proposed the idea of an author podcast. So my question is, what was it that made you think of a podcast as something that would be interesting or good to try? Like what brought that to mind? What was it you were hoping a podcast would accomplish?
Well, I have to say, through my whole time working in marketing, it's quite clear to me that digital content is key. And so it's just where we are as a world. I mean, I don't remember the last time I sat down and watched daytime TV. And maybe that's just because I work. But even if I'm sick or the kids are off, so I take a day off, I don't think I turn the television on, but I used to years ago to turn on the TV. But what I do have is a streaming subscription to music and podcasts. And I think that's just where we are today. And I really love to listen to a really good podcast. I don't like big, long podcasts that go on for an hour and a half, 2 hours. Sometimes I do. If I really love the content, then I'll listen to it. But I have to break it up into chunks because it's just too much. But there's value in digital content. And so we had the facility to do that at Covenant. We had wonderful studio. And I've got to give a shout out to Blair Leishman, he still is over there at Covenant, but their audio engineer. He's just absolute genius. And I knew that whatever I asked of Blair, I did other projects with him, that he just was all in, and he can get things done so quickly. He's so efficient. And so I was looking at the timing and I thought, okay, we focus a lot in this industry and probably a little bit in our own little nucleus of what we were doing as a company on a lot of nonfiction, a lot of like doctrinal and other things that to do with religion, and nothing really to do with the fiction. And I love stories. And so I feel like there's a lot of people out there that want to know the writing world and also just want to talk about fiction and stories beyond. We read books, right? And the good ones, we have book hangovers, and then we have no one to talk about it with. I want to talk about it. So it was an easy go-to. And then the four of you, I don't know, I don't think you all knew. I mean, I knew that Sarah, Tracy, and Sean, you knew each other very well and you were great friends. But I didn't know how well you knew Esther, but I adored Esther. And I just thought she's just perfect mix to come in here. And I have to say, I tease you and others tease you all the time about your I don't know what's the word to call this, your lack of desire in writing kissing scenes. Sarah, and Esther, I know, is not afraid to talk about it. So I thought, I've got to throw her into this mix.
There's a balance. You gotta have some balance.
Yeah, she's a balance.
That's how I made the cut. That's good to know.
It was all a ploy to get us to like kissing scenes more.
Yeah.
So here we are
I
3 years
think I was
later.
ever going to win you over there, but I knew that Esther just needed to balance this out. Otherwise, we'd have a podcast of kissing scenes suck and romance sucks. Our romance authors, let's have someone who is happily excited about it, and that's why Esther's here.
That's so funny.
So all those other authors out there who love writing kissing scenes are now thinking they totally missed the boat.
Yeah, all they had to do was send a resume in, I guess, and then they would have had an opportunity. Yeah. I just didn't know.
It just would have been a really long kissing scene.
Yeah,
that is the resume.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I tease you guys about it, but you know, you guys are fantastic. You do incredible work. So, but yeah, you've got to have balance in anything, and
It's true.
Esther definitely brings that to you three.
Well, I just remember when you first brought it up, I'm sure that I looked like deer in the headlights. Like, you want us to do
You did.
what? So
Yeah, I remember that call. I was sitting in the basement on my couch, and I had the four of you on there, just hoping and praying that nobody was going to tell me where to shove it, because I knew that it's a hard thing to put yourself out there, full stop, which you already do as authors, but to now it's like next level,
Right.
you know, just sharing so many things and being vulnerable with what you do, and so that's hard. So I was nervous, very nervous, but so excited that you guys.
Well, you did us a huge service, because truly, especially during COVID, it was such a joy for us to be able to connect this way with each other and with our readers. And honestly, if we go too long between podcast tapings, we actually miss each other. So it's just, we've really formed a strong friendship because of it. We had one already, but it's just gotten stronger.
Yeah.
But I actually met Esther on that first call. That was where we met the first time.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, because you all knew each other, but I was the odd person out because I don't write historical.
Yeah.
Or live in Utah.
And I was gonna say, and it's your location a little bit too, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Well, and I was newer than, I'm getting to be a little bit older now. Newish in the
Don't call it
publishing
older,
industry,
more
I would say.
established,
More established now. Yes. Yeah.
You can go all the way to geriatric if you'd like.
No.
Well, I have to say the four of you have definitely grown in a lot of confidence since those early days. Do you remember? Now you guys do it completely independent of the studio, but back then you were in a booth and I was on the other side of the wall. I couldn't even see you the way the setup was. I was just on a couch, but I had this foot pedal and headset that Blair gave me that was basically, he said, if you press that, they can hear you. So there was a few times where I had to cut in and be like, you're going to have to say that again.
Yes, exactly.
I didn't do it too much, but I feel like we had a bit of that in the beginning. I don't know.
I feel like at the beginning.
Yeah, but you guys are pros now, complete pros at podcasting.
I don't know. I feel like if you were still involved, you'd be pushing that pedal still. Like, why did you say that?
Maybe just to annoy you. I don't know if I'd be doing it for technical reasons.
Like, wow, guys, you are way off topic. Bring it back.
I don't think Amy would bring us back. I think she would keep us off topic.
We'd be going down that road.
Yeah,
it's the brand, man.
I was texting Esther last night, and I knew I had to pick up a child at 2:00, and I was like, "Do you think we can get this done in an hour?" And she's like, "Well, it depends." Whether we can leave. And I'm like, that's kind of how we are when we get together. So yeah, no, it's definitely, you guys have definitely a great just have a great rapport with each other, and I think that is very, very important, to be able to have good conversations. And they're great conversations. I love listening to them. I'm still listening even though I'm not there in the booth and part of your show anymore. I still listen.
So we have to be careful about what we say about Amy, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, because then I might never talk to you again. But no, they're great. Your episodes are great. The content is fantastic. And here's the thing: when you're coming up with an idea, you have to be thinking, do we have content that we can talk about a lot? Because you don't just start a podcast and do 5 episodes, right? Otherwise, it's just a mini series. It's got to have longevity in it. So, you're very good at coming up with new things. That's for sure.
Thank you so much, Amy. And I think I speak for all of us that even though we might have been a little bit hesitant when you brought up the idea, we're really grateful you forced us to make a podcast.
Did I force?
Strongly encouraged.
We didn't think of it ourselves, that's for sure. But it's been so much fun, and I've loved getting to know everyone better, and I love our conversations. I think it's taught me a lot, and I'm just really glad we're here. So thank you so much for coming today, Amy, and being a part of this again. We miss having you as part of our recording sessions like you were at the very beginning. So those were the good old days, but we're glad that you started us off on the right foot and got us going. For those of you listening at home, we just like to ask, like, I assume a lot of your readers or writers, if you got a job title in the book industry like Amy has, what would you want to do? What would your job be as a book in the book world? So thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you again next time on Between the Lines.